Hello everybody. Today I thought I'd share a little bit about myself in light of the current events. It's pretty loosely related, kind of. I'm sure you've heard that there's been a horrible earthquake in Alaska. No, Sarah. Well, hello friends, again. Not sure, I think this is like take 4 or take 5, I'm lost count. But, I'm going to start over again. We all know that there was an earthquake, horrible earthquake in Alaska this past week. And, well, no, I've never been to Alaska, probably never will get to Alaska, but I was born and raised in California, specifically Sacramento. And I happen to have a lot of knowledge about earthquakes. You see, well, when I was in high school, I decided I wanted to become a special education teacher. Now, since then, I know that would not have been a good career choice for me. I would have not been the greatest, but that's what I wanted to do. And so, when I was 18 years old, I went off to college. And my mom had been the one to kind of figure out where I should go. She had narrowed it down, and one of those schools was Sonoma State University, which is 50 miles north of San Francisco in the town of Roanoke Park. And if you follow very many homesteading YouTube channels, you probably know Baker's Creek has an event in California in Santa Rosa. Well, Santa Rosa is like 7 miles north of Sonoma State. So I've been to Santa Rosa a lot. I mean, they actually had a mall and some other stores and stuff there. Didn't go there an awful lot because, you know, that was 7 miles away, and this was in college when we didn't have cars and money and things like that. But I have been to Santa Rosa, though Baker's Creek didn't exist back then. But in California, you cannot major in education. They want you to be more well-rounded. They want you to major in something else and then do a 5th-year program that deals with the basics of the education, the theories, the practicums, all that education-related stuff. And so, as a freshman in college, I went off and, went to the advisors and, ouch, here's a rock. I just hit a rock. Went to the advisors asking for, getting, what should I major in? Because I couldn't major in education. And so I was given several options that would meet the qualifications that to qualify for this 5th-year program. Great. Well, one of those majors I could take was environmental studies and planning. And they had 6 or 7 different plans, and one of them was education. And you completed that major with that plan, and you qualified. Otherwise, you had to take some major test, which I didn't want to do. So I decided to major in environmental studies and planning. And the thing about it is it wasn't just that it fulfilled that requirement, because I did have a couple other options. But I've always had, I've been camping since I was 6 months old. Literally, the first time I ever went camping was my mom with her cousin. Her cousin came out to visit us. She wanted to see trees. She grew up in Chicago, had never really seen a tree before. She wanted to see a tree. So, my mom rented a whole bunch of equipment and took me and my brothers, and I was 6 months old. We went up to this redwood forest and went camping. So I've been camping literally since I was an infant. And there's a story about that event too. But my mom loves the outdoors. I've been camping my whole life. And so I had that background. But I also had, I've loved windmills. My whole life I have loved windmills. I've loved when I learned about solar power stuff, I was attracted to that. And so it was kind of a natural fit. And so I majored in environmental studies and planning. And I've got a lot of knowledge in my brain that some of it very helpful today, some of it not so. One thing, this major really focused on Northern California when it came to plants and geology and geography and all that kind of stuff. I learned in my last year of college, I took 5th graders on a nature hike and could identify all these plants and everything. Actually handled snakes. Would hand a California king and a garter snake to the little children on the field trips for them to handle. So, I have a lot of experience. Well, one thing I learned a lot about, and I'm sure it probably doesn't matter what you major in college. There's probably stuff we all walk away that doesn't pertain to our lives today, but for some reason, we never forget it. And for me, I got a lot of information about earthquakes. I know a lot about earthquakes. One professor, I actually took him for 3 different classes, and he was actually a soil geologist. And he taught me a lot about earthquakes. For instance, earthquakes aren't as simple as you think. It's not just that the fault goes off and the earth shakes. Yeah, that happens. But the soil underneath your feet, where you are, plays a major role in whether you even feel that earthquake. Like the Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys act like jello during an earthquake. And in fact, there's been a lot of earthquakes that happened during my childhood I did not even feel because of the soil. And yet my aunt, just on the other side of the Sacramento River, her fish tank almost fell over during one earthquake. I was home. Not anything whatsoever happened. The building my mom worked in actually was floating. It was a skyscraper. And it was designed to wave back and forth, to sway. She would have hanging plants in her office because my mom always loved plants, and they would swing back and forth. This one particular earthquake, her plants are swinging all over the place. My aunt across the river, her fish tank almost fell over. I felt nothing. Totally because of the soil, what's underneath your feet. Earthquakes, the waves can actually skip over certain types of soil and occur on the other side. So on both sides you could have feel the earthquake, and in the middle maybe not. Some geological, certain soils and stuff will magnify an earthquake. It will be more intense, whereas nearby you don't feel it. So earthquakes are kind of complicated. And And so I learned all about this kind of stuff. I mean, I've got a wealth of information about earthquakes, even though it's really not what I studied in college. I mean, it wasn't the focus. I mean, I don't do research on earthquakes today. I just got this knowledge in my brain. And, some other facts I know about earthquakes is the number one cause of homes being destroyed during an earthquake is actually the fire chimney, the fireplace, because they're usually made of brick. Brick is stiff. It doesn't move. You want your building to move during an earthquake. Now, if you live in the South where you don't really get that many earthquakes, but you get tornadoes, a big, strong, stiff building made out of bricks is a good thing, because it will hold up under a tornado. Whereas in California, you don't want brick. And so for those people who are in earthquake regions, but that are not warm, that you're not, do you really need a fireplace? If you're in Southern California, do you want to buy a house that has a fireplace? In an earthquake, it may be your fireplace that destroys your house. The homes that don't have a fireplace may survive the earthquake, whereas you buy a house with a fireplace, that's something to think about, honestly. And if I was buying a home in Southern California or any area where there's earthquakes and it's warm, so I'm unlikely to need a fire to keep warm, I wouldn't have a fireplace. I mean, there's no reason. And if I'm in a cold environment, I want to make sure there was, I'd be doing some investigating. There may be technology now that will help make a house more safe versus back in the 80s when I was going to college. But I just have all this knowledge in my head about earthquakes. I mean, there's a place in southeast California that they have earthquakes almost every day. Now, most of them are 2.0, 3.0, you don't going to feel them. But because of that, they have a lot of equipment there measuring the earthquakes. So a lot of studying in that region. So I just have all this information about earthquakes. Now I live in Texas. Yeah, we can get an earthquake here. In fact, there have been earthquakes in Texas. But, the risk is not real strong like it is. You don't come to Texas to study earthquakes. There are not too many earthquake scientists living in Texas. So I just, thought I'd share that. And which brings me back to Alaska, because they've had a massive earthquake. And yes, I have never gone through a 7.0 earthquake. I've never experienced anything close to that. I moved out of California August 3rd, 1989. I got on an airplane and left California, and except to visit my mom, who passed away in 2008, I believe. That's the only reason I've ever gone back. And since my mom passed, I haven't been in California and have no desire to go back. Nothing there for me. But two YouTube channels, homesteading channels, lived through that earthquake. And they posted about it, and I'll provide links to both those videos. But, if you have TV, there's all these reality TV shows. The truth is, those aren't really reality. The producers will ask the people to do things that those people normally would never do because it's dangerous and they don't even want to do it. And I've heard about, in some cases, where the people have really fought. They've gotten angry because it's been so dangerous. But the producers want the viewers. They want the action. They care more about people watching it than whether these, individuals are safe or not. When you're watching these homesteading channels like mine, or, Life Goes North, I think is one of the channels. Living Simply in Alaska, I think is the other. I can't remember off the top of my head. Those are close names, but I'll have links. That's more reality. Yeah, they don't show you all. No, none of us who are doing YouTube videos are showing you everything. But what we do show you is more reality. If you want to see what people who actually went through that earthquake, what they were actually experiencing, not what the news is reporting, not what what they want you to think, not some documentary, but what people are actually real live people, then that's what you should be watching. Most of those, you got to remember the reality TV, there's a camera crew there following everything. It's not reality. It's still, a lot of it's still staged, to some extent. And people had to, some of the people who are doing those programs have had to fight, to do things the way they want to, or not to do things that they are against. Whereas, I basically can put on YouTube whatever I want. I don't have ABC, NBC, Discovery Channel, whatever, telling me what I can and cannot do. Trying to push me to do something I don't agree with. So I just wanted to share that little bit of information, and I hope you'll go watch these two channels and their experience with the earthquake and support them. Both of them, they both made it clear that it was a scary event, and I can see why. So go watch their video. If you like them, if you want to see more stuff about Alaska, then subscribe to their channels. And let them know I sent you. But I just thought I'd share a little bit about my past. I have a degree in environmental studies and planning. I know a lot of, it's a very broad degree. I mean, literally, I had to complete 18 to 20 hours in the 4 disciplines: English, humanities, social science, and science, math and sciences. I did each one of those 4. I did 18 to 20 hours of credits. So I'm pretty broad range. Learned a lot of stuff. Learned a lot about earthquakes, more than I need to know, and it's stuck in my brain. So I just hope that this makes you, that you found it interesting. I hope you go support those 2 channels, or at least watch their videos, and everyone's safe. Thankfully, none of them had structure damage or anything like that. But it's been a hard week for them. Haven't seen any videos on either of those 2 channels since then. They're probably just trying to cope with what's happening, all the aftershocks and everything. So, well, I hope you found it interesting, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And thankfully, the goats went back to their hay feeder and have left me alone so I could get this video finished. Well, you have a wonderful day. See you next time, and God bless you.